Okay, this is a book for anybody who has Irish roots, however far back they go. Okay. And for anybody who has an interest in Liverpool as a city, whether you're a Beatles fan, a football fan, or you just want to know more about one of Britain's iconic cities. The book is a combination of lived experience and the city as a character. And it follows there are two narratives, historic and modern. The historic follows immigrants from Ireland after the Second World War to Liverpool. Yeah. And the modern is a young reporter. A body gets turned up on a building site, and then the question is not only who did it, but who was it? And that's the kind of mystery crime element of the book. The book is about identity and nationality. Sorry.
Got it. No. So this is crime north, isn't it, really, as opposed to nice, cosy sort of Agatha Christie, Cotswold crime. This is the real thing. This is gritty and northern and lots of rain and things like that.
And social issues. Social issues, immigration, strikes, police corruption, it's all in there.
Okay, got it, that's great. And tell us about you. How did you start writing and when?
All right, I have the story, which is true, so I'll do it. When I was 16, on a council estate in Liverpool, I started writing a biography of my dad. My dad was from Ireland, came across to Liverpool. He was a painter and decorator. I only got half a page and then finished. He was an unexceptional man, but he was part of an exceptional movement of people. And this book is the end of that project, if you like. It's not about my family, but it's about families like mine, how they arrived in Liverpool and how Liverpool accepted them and how those two things intertwine.
But what gave you the urge to write about it? Because a lot of people have had, I guess, similar experiences, but they don't write books. Why did you?
And I was one of those kids, and even as an adult, I always ask why. Why do things happen? Why are things the way they are? And often I'm not satisfied with the answers. Yeah. And this for me was, it was literally my dad, I'm looking at my dad, he's a lovely guy, he's gone now, but, why did you move from Ireland to Liverpool? As a 16-year-old, you think it's moving across the world. And in some senses it was, in terms of culture and experience.
Yeah.
And so
I'm going to ask you again, what made you write? What made you actually commit this to paper or electrons, I don't know. What gave you the urge to do that? Because it's not an easy thing to do.
No, okay, you're right. And I think partly that the world that my father entered was a world where people fought for an 8-hour day. People fought for overtime pay, for holidays. People wanted the right to a life outside of the workplace. And they won it, by and large, in the 1950s and 60s and the 70s. And in the 80s, 90s and 2000s, it's been taken away. And for me, I think people need to look and say, well, actually, Uber, Deliveroo, these half-fake self-employed jobs that don't pay a decent wage, how do we get back to a place where we can live?
Well, that's a good question. I don't have any answers. Do you?
I hope the book has a few. I hope the experience, of looking at how people did it in an earlier generation, because they did.
Yes, they did.
In the UK, they won the National Health Service. They won a 40-hour week. They won the right to holiday pay. How did they do that? And what relevance does that have today?
So, Jack, we have a lot of viewers who are not in the UK. Explain some basics to us about the North-South divide and about Liverpool. I mean, a lot of people have heard of Liverpool for pop music reasons, but there's a lot more to Liverpool apart from that, and Liverpool-Manchester. Just set the scene a bit for us.
Okay, it's London is the capital of the UK. That's in the southeast. That's the financial centre of the country. That's where the majority of people who run the country come from. The establishment is based around London. Not that it doesn't exist elsewhere, but it does. And so there is a north-south divide in terms of the level of investment and finance available for everything. So the south gets more. There are real pockets of poverty in the south as well. So I don't want to just be binary about it. matter. But Liverpool was known, and still is, as the capital of Ireland. Because, at some stages, there were more Irish people in Liverpool than there probably were in a lot of the towns of Ireland. And equating with Dublin. And so it has that really rich history of a seaport. There's a thing now where you can't turn over a stone in Liverpool without finding Irish history and slavery.
Slavery, part of the triangular trade, wasn't it?
Absolutely, it was the centre. Well, it was the centre of it in the UK from the mid 1700s on, and those two forces have really impacted the city. But in a way that is only just being explored, and people are being honest about for the first time in decades, which is really good. You know.
Here in the UK, Manchester, Liverpool, North really were the centre of the Industrial Revolution. The world's Industrial Revolution, and dark satanic mills and all the rest of it. And I guess the reaction against that was what you're just talking about.
Yeah. Well, in order to run those dark satanic mills, you need people. And those people have to know their place for the mills to keep working. And so for the whole of the North, if it wasn't mills, it was mines. If it wasn't mines, it was railways, or it was shipping, and these huge industries drove the world, for 100 years. And the UK, was the progenitor of the Industrial Revolution, but that led to its empire later because of those technical developments and so on. But it was an unequal development. There were huge amounts of money swishing about in the UK, but not much of it got down to working people in the North or working people in the South either, for that matter.
Yeah, and that's how a lot of reform movements actually had their roots up north, isn't it?
Yeah, you had the fight against the Corn Laws. You had Chartism was the fight for the vote, originally just for men, although there were some women involved in the Chartist movement before the suffragettes in the 1840s. Huge demonstrations, hundreds of thousands of people. And so there's a long history of nothing was ever given to us. I think that's what people have to realize. If you sit around waiting for somebody to deliver it, it's not going to arrive. The only time working people have made advances is when they organize to do it.
Jack, you've got some fans. I don't know if you've been looking at the chat room.
Good.
Vagabond Heart says, Jack, you're a great guest. That's what people are saying.
All right.
How about that?
But let me add though, I work really hard at making the book a page turner, because for me, it doesn't matter what ideas are in it. If it's boring, nobody's going to read it, and it's not. So have a look. Under the Bridge, you can find it on Amazon or unorthodoxpress.co.uk.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Jack.